It finally happened. God of War has finally got a proper trailer via the PlayStation Showcase event that just happened. Alongside that, we had a short interview with the director of the game. We saw new gameplay mechanics, new regions, huge story suggestions. We're going to talk about all of it. The official title for the game is confirmed now as God of War Ragnarok. No huge shock there. But then huge story stuff like Tyr is just alive and a major part of the story. There's still no release window, let alone a release date. And the brilliant director Corey is in fact not the director of Ragnarok. So we got answers for a bunch of stuff and honestly even more questions. Let's just start with the trailer and then we'll move on to the interview reveal as we go. I'll be talking about fan theories and giving you context from Norse lore and everything I know. The trailer opens with our boy Atreus coming in behind Kratos, who's just hunted all on his own. This stands in stark contrast to the young boy who basically had to be handheld the whole way in his first hunt at the beginning of the first game. Now he's grown, and that's a really cool representation of that. Also shown in his older, young teen voice.
The prophecies say Fimbulwinter leads to Ragnarok.
As Atreus says here, they're running out of time before Ragnarok comes. Fimbulwinter is brought up by Atreus, and that's the great winter that takes place before Ragnarok. In Norse lore, that lasts quite a few years, but may have been ongoing to the point we're now seeing this gameplay. And obviously, it's coming towards its end. Atreus is upset with Kratos for keeping him hidden in the woods here, and he seems to want to prepare for the war that is Ragnarok, the war of the gods. Kratos has reasons though, and one of them is the fact that Freya is hunting them. It is sad to see because she's such a good character, but it's very expected after the events of the first game. She looks like a very scary enemy with all the transformation stuff and might well make for a very interesting boss fight at some point in this game. Either way, their hiding clearly is not working and Atreus just is not happy. He wants to find out who he really is, who Loki is, what it means to be Loki, and claims that he doesn't want to fight but wants the truth, which doesn't necessarily align with what he says later in the trailer. Throughout, we have this conflict between Kratos and Atreus, that dad-son relationship straining once again. I see this as sort of the ambition of the young conflicting with the caution of the old and experienced. In contrast to the serious stuff though, we have a cute Mimir moment where he's painting with his mouth. Look, he's just trying to get on and have a good time while these two babies argue. Alright, here we go. Big reveal. A winter-stricken land of likely Fimbulwinter as we're being pulled on a sled by two wolves. A current fan theory is that these two could actually be Skoll and Hati. Skoll and Hati are the offspring of Fenrir, who is the giant wolf in Norse lore, who actually kills Odin and eats both the sun and the moon in Ragnarok. It's very intense, but as we know, the telling of this Norse mythology is going to be different, as they say in the interview we'll get to. As the trailer progresses, Atreus asks if someone could maybe help them with their problem, and Kratos brings up Tyr, the Norse god of war. To give you context, Tyr was captured by Odin and was thought dead. Fan theory was that Kratos is actually this story's Tyr, like this version of it, and that would be maybe a big reveal at some point. But no, there's two different people. There's Kratos and there's Tyr, and they're just two different gods of war. We lead then into a reveal of an entirely new region that looks quite green and yellow and is filled with life compared to the many wasteland-like environments of the first game. There's literally a town filled with people who look like they're living in peace, which is not something we've seen before. Once again though, we have the Dwarven brothers who are back, helping us to equip and upgrade our gear, which is apparently reverted back to level 1. There's this nice moment that gives us a comparison of Atreus and how much he's actually grown, because look, he's much taller than the dwarf. Finally, we have some action here now. New enemies, which I'm going to refer to as maybe trolls and fish people. The small guys are very agile and come in great number. And we have some cool movement from Kratos, where he's using the chains to pull himself around and grab enemies and leap around. It's familiar combat with some small additions.
Stop thinking like a father for a moment and start thinking like a general. No!
Kratos basically doesn't want to fight another war, and Atreus just wants to dive in. He wants to prepare for it. What happened to not wanting to fight?
You seem like a calm and reasonable person. Are you a calm and reasonable person?
Damn, that's confirmed Thor speaking here, and in that interview it was revealed that Thor will be played by Ryan Hurst, who's a really good actor and has a great voice and is a very good choice for Thor. Thor seems to want our help, as we speculated. Odin wants to stop Ragnarok, and well, we want the same thing. Thor being his son might be here because Odin commanded it. Kind of awkward that we killed Thor's kids then, isn't it? In that interview, they described this Thor as something very different to current media. He's a hedonistic man-child of sorts, and he's got red hair hair as well. I think that's really exciting. It's going to be a totally different take. Back to the action though, we have a big new enemy, this crocodile thing that's just leaping at us. I imagine this could be like the various giant fights as a new enemy type. And on top of that, we have horse people as enemies, literally centaur. I wonder if they'll be just normal enemies or maybe rarer like the Valkyries. We see a bit of hint of super fast enemies here clad in gold. I think those might be dark elves. And finally, a bit of Atreus in action as we see him using a new magic summon. I think he's riding an elk there. So Atreus remains a support character, at least from what we've seen here. A fan theory was that Atreus would become more like Loki in this game. We might even be able to get to play him. So far, that is not the case. Overall, though, I think the combat looks good, but very familiar. There wasn't a lot of big gameplay changes shown in this footage. Anyway, big reveal now. Tyr, he's alive. We find him, and hopefully he's going to help us. But I'm not really feeling sure on that. This is the current Greek god of war facing the current Norse god of war. And they, I don't know, they look kind of tense. Fade to black though, and there is that title reveal, which indeed is called God of War Ragnarok. And right after that, we have a brief teaser. It's this young girl who claims we'll have our answers soon enough. In that interview, it was casually revealed that this lady is in fact one of the last giants. Therefore, I believe this new region we're playing in and where we meet her could actually be the land of the giants we couldn't properly go to in the first game. I think this might be Vanaheim. But that's the trailer and everything we saw in it, and there's some context for you, different interview confirmations and some fan theories. Let's now cover the interview part in proper. The interview took place with both Corey and confirmed new director Eric Williams. Eric has actually been with God of War from the beginning, since 2004. In this interview, he came off as extremely knowledgeable about the series, and actually I feel like we're in good hands with him. They explained that the leadership change is actually a normal thing for the studio. They change director every game and always have. However, Corey was the only director who had been multiple games director, and in this interview was kind of hinted to be working on something else already. Anyway, they confirmed that Ragnarok will happen during this game, and is actually going to, quote, cap the Norse series for God of War. They plainly state that this is the last God of War game focused on the Norse mythology stuff. We originally believed this to be a 3-part game series, but as it turns out, it looks like it's only going to be 2. Unless we play part 3 in an entirely new setting. As I said, it seems like Corey is working on something new, and they make it seem like this isn't the end of God of War. Maybe something will follow, but it'll be a long time before we find out, I guess. Speaking of which though, no release date for Ragnarok, not even a release window in all of this. That's a huge shame. I would have put money on us at least getting like a release window in this, but no. Either way, they talk about Thor and how he's going to be very different, like Ryan Hurst will play him, like I mentioned. But they go on to bring up Odin, who is going to be a big part of the game. In the Norse myth, Odin is trying to stop Ragnarok, and they say he will be part of that. However, he will also be different, like Thor, to what current media portrays him as. He's going to be a bit more reserved compared to like a grand god king. They refer to him as an old man that's busy with his own things, doing whatever he wants. He doesn't live in a big castle or anything like that. I like it. I like the different direction. Anyway, I trust them to give us a good story and a great world to play in. I have faith that Ragnarok will be a great journey and experience. But I have to admit, from watching the gameplay, it looked like almost identical to the first game. Don't get me wrong, it still looked fun, but very similar rather than like updated and improved. Maybe it's just good and that's fine, but I kind of expected to see like a lot more new stuff, I guess. That's my breakdown of everything we learned and what context and info I can add myself. I hope this was interesting or useful beyond the trailer itself. Let me know what you're thinking. Theories, all the good stuff, drop it in a comment. Until next time though, I've been Hollow, you've been you, thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.